On June 1st of 1943, at Page Field on Parris Island, VMFA 312, also known as the Checkerboards, were officially formed. Now this is an important day for me because I served under the Checkerboards for 4 years, from 2014 until my separation from the Marine Corps in 2018. I personally feel that although a lot of Americans say that they support the military, most of them don't know anything about the history surrounding the military, all of the units and squadrons, and I don't expect one person to know everything, but I do feel it's important for the average American to know at least a little bit about the military's history, even if they don't plan on serving. So, going back to World War II, as I said, VMFA 312, also I might call them the Checkerboards, were formed in 1943. 2 years later, they would be deployed in support of World War II after receiving 24 brand new aircraft. And this is a pretty big deal. In fact, the F-18s that 312 currently flies are well in excess of 20 years old. The last shipment of brand new F-18s was delivered to the Marine Corps in the year 2000. So, the first combat that 312 saw would be 4 of our own aircraft versus 20 enemy aircraft, according to the Marine Corps' official website under the History tab. Additionally, according to a brief history of Attack Squadron 312 by Major Sambito, which is also published by the Marine Corps, there were an additional 2 aircraft, although they were not fighters. But one thing that both of my sources agree on, there were no losses to 312 that day. This good fortune would not continue throughout the entire war, though. In fact, 4 days later, the first commanding officer of 312 was killed in action, being one of only 23 commanding officers to be killed in action throughout the entirety of the Second World War. He was shot down by anti-aircraft fire. One of the most unique air battles in American history at least, actually happened from 312 in World War II. 2 of our own aircraft versus 8 opponent aircraft. Both of the guns on our 2 aircraft were either frozen and jammed or completely out of rounds by the end of the battle. So in order to take down the opposing aircraft, one of our pilots actually flew his plane basically rubbing alongside the enemy aircraft, using his propeller to tear off the stabilizers and the rudders of the opponent aircraft, bringing it down. Both of those pilots did successfully make it back to the base after that mission. Um, 312 would end World War II with 59.5 enemy kills attributed to them. Following the deployment in following the end of World War II, in the year 1950, 312 would see itself being deployed yet again, this time to Korea. They began combat ops the very next day after landing in Korea at Kadena Air Base. They supported a lot of historic battles in Korea. Specifically, I'm going to be going over the Battle of the Chosin Reservoir. The Battle of the Chosin Reservoir is a very, very gruesome battle. According to an article by Nick Foley on the official Marine Corps website, it was 30,000 U.S. ROK, Republic of Korea, and British troops versus 120,000 Chinese soldiers. The average temperature at the reservoir during those 2 weeks was averaging around 25 below freezing. To stop moving was to literally freeze. Hypothermia, frostbite ran absolutely rampant. In fact, it was so bad that beloved Marine General Chesty Puller, who was in charge of the Allied side of that battle, famously left ammo off of the supply trucks in favor of tents and stoves. He's quoted as saying, "I'll take care of my men first. Frozen troops can't fight. If we run out of ammo, we'll go to the bayonet." Another one of his very famous quotes also happened at the reservoir. He actually corresponded to the Allied headquarters according to Breakout, the chosen reservoir, Korea. He's quoted as saying, "We've been looking for the enemy for some time. We finally found him. We're surrounded," and that simplifies things. As I said, Chesty Puller is a beloved Marine, within the Marine Corps at least. June 1st, they would be moved from Kadena Air Base to the USS Bataan later on in 1951. According to the 2017 to 2018 Checkerboard Cruise book, right here, which has a brief history detail in the beginning, this was published for Marines of that cruise. After being moved to the USS Bataan, 312 would actually engage in a battle of world significance. 2 Corsairs intercepted 8 jet aircraft. To put it in layman's terms, we had 4 older aircraft with the physical propellers versus 8 much at the time newer aircraft with jet engines. At that, there were 4 jets for each one of our own aircraft, and this battle would mark the first time in the world that a propeller aircraft would shoot down a jet aircraft. And in fact, this is the only instance of this in the U.S. squadron as well, although other countries have matched this feat since then. The next thing I want to cover is Operation Inherent Resolve. Operation Inherent Resolve is officially formed in 2014, and this is to formalize the militarization efforts against ISIS in Iraq and Syria. Specifically, I wanted to cover the 2017 to 2018 cruise, which is the cruise I just showed you the book from there. The reason why is I was on this cruise, and this is also got some pretty big historic things that happened in it. The first thing I wanted to cover is that, again, we were deployed aboard the USS Theodore Roosevelt for this cruise. After a year of workups, 2017, in November, late November, early October, we set off. For the 7-month deployment, we would hit 21 ground targets with bombs over the course of 203 flights and totaling 1,486.1 flight hours. Through all of that, we did not have a single mishap. Not one of our aircraft was shot down or took damage while in its operations, and we had no casualties happen on the ship either. Due to our excellent and mishap-free record, we received the Marine Corps Association Pete Ross Aviation Safety Award. The other big historic thing that happened on that cruise was, due to luck, the Navy was able to get 3 of its carriers in the same place to perform strike exercises. And the reason this is a big deal is because this was the greatest collection of U.S. naval power in the last 10 years. The last time the Navy got 3 of its aircraft carriers together had been 10 years prior, in 2007. And that's kind of what I just wanted to cover today, just a very brief overview of some of the things. Again, there's a lot of history to 312 and any squadron or unit that you care to look into, and a lot of the information is open source. If you go to the Marine Corps official homepage, website rather, you can go to a tab that has just the history of various units and squadrons, the BMFA 312 included. I found articles, I found the brief history of Fighter Attack Squadron 312 by Major Sambito as well was a free download from the Marine Corps website. And I just think, again, it's important for Americans to know the history behind the military, because if you say that you support something, you should know what you're supposedly supporting. You should know the history behind it as well. And I think that that is very important for the American people. I do hope that you've learned something interesting, and maybe that you've decided that you want to learn a little bit more about some of the U.S. military units' history. Thank you very much.